Hello and welcome to Top Hat Chat with myself, Street, and the Top Hat Gaming Man.
That's this one. Indeed, the Top Hat Gaming Man.
Top Hat Gaming Man.
Yes, Mr. Yeah. Top Hat Gaming Man to you.
Today we are going to be talking about console generations and why they are so stupid.
Yes, the term console generation is outrageous. Like, what idiot invented console generations? There's no such thing as a console generation.
It's strange. There is a definition.
Okay, can we explain?
A vague definition.
Can you give us the vague definition?
Right,
by any
so
chance?
I've just literally searched this, and they're talking about. I'm not sure if it's class a definition, to be honest, but I will.
But what does Wikipedia say?
No, this is from Quora.
Okay.
Okay. So, video game console generations are defined by the dominant game console in their marketplace. Anytime there's a significant shift in the marketplace leader to a new hardware model, that signals a console generation. As such, this can be very arbitrary.
So even in the definition, it admits it's arbitrary.
Yes, but people go on about console generations like there is some kind of
physical thing,
super fixed, definite thing that definitely should exist, and that's strange.
So why do you think people do that?
I suppose it's just commonly used term, isn't it?
Even I use it, and it doesn't make sense.
The more a term is used in people's vocabulary, the more it becomes something.
Like in my recent GameCube video, I did actually refer to it as a 6th generation console.
It's like selfie isn't a word, but became a word because it was because of widespread use.
That's all words, though, isn't it? But that's the thing. These generation things are more than a word, though. I don't know, it's a state, but it's quite hard, really, because, like for example, what's classed? I think. The Atari 2600, for example, I think that's classed as a 2nd generation console.
It most certainly is, according to this list.
And I think the Nintendo Entertainment System is classed as a 3rd generation console. Am I correct?
It most certainly is.
So where would the ZX Spectrum be? Because that came out about halfway between the two.
This has got some dates. Okay, so I will show you some dates. It says here that the 1st generation console was the Magnavox Odyssey.
Yes.
Which would make sense, I suppose. Running from 1972 to 1977. So there's the date.
So it's doing it on dates then, dated periods. So it's saying there are fixed periods.
Now this one there is an overlap. So 2nd generation, we're looking at Atari 2600 or 2600. 1976 to 1983. Make sense?
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. NES 1983, 1987, 3rd gen. Then 4th generation is SNES / Genesis / Mega Drive. 1987 to 1993. 5th generation, PS1, Saturn, and Nintendo 64.
Can I stop you for a second there?
Well, you just get me to the end of my date.
Yeah, but then it's going to be horrible backtracking, going through everything again.
93 to 98. There we go. Yes.
Okay.
So
we're talking about that period. So you've got the SNES and the Genesis,
or
Mega Drive, as it should be called on that site, because it was only called Genesis in like a couple of countries, so no idea why they've wrote it with the wrong system title. So that's just weird.
SNES, Genesis,
SNES, Mega Drive. Stop saying Genesis. You're going to poison my brain.
Sorry. 87 to 93. What's your problem?
What?
You said about that particular era.
My problem is like where would you fit the Atari Jaguar? The Sega 32X and like the Amiga CD32 and all systems like that in between, or the Philips CDI. Where's those? What generation are those then? Are they in the SNES generation or the PlayStation generation?
Well,
does it say on there what generation those fall into?
No, it doesn't.
That's what I'm saying.
There might be a more definitive list
because those are literally in between those systems. So what generation's that in?
See, that's strange. As we go further down the list.
And there is a massive difference between those 3 style systems as well.
I mean, the Jaguar is an anomaly. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go on and read the rest of the list. Okay? Just so we can cover everything. So 6th generation, 1998 to 2005. Dreamcast, PS2, GameCube, Xbox. Any issues with that?
They need to have the new one on there as well.
Okay. So that's an issue.
Yeah.
7th gen, 2005 to 2012. PS3, 360, Wii.
Okay.
Any issues?
Not overly.
Okay, so that one's not too bad.
They make sense in recent history because there's hardly any systems released.
Okay.
But back in the day where there was like 10 consoles coming out a year, that's when I'm saying generation didn't make any sense because they were coming out so fluidly and rapidly they only make sense in the present. But even now, it's a bit confusing because the Wii U and the Nintendo Switch were made so close together.
See, this is where we're getting a problem.
And you could even argue that the Dreamcast is in the same generation as the Nintendo 64.
Yes.
Eighth
generation, PS4, Xbox One, Wii U, 2012 to present. Which doesn't take into account the Switch.
Yeah.
Which should not be in the same console generation as the Wii U.
No, that's the only thing that wouldn't make sense. So you could say the NS is like...
And also, we also have a PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. That is essentially, I think, equivalent to a game add-on such as the 32X, which goes back to the problem that we had before, where they're an in-between system. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I said I wanted to get to the bottom of this to come back to that point. So, is there like an 8.5 generation?
You could argue a point for the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
You could argue a point for those, but you couldn't with the Switch. You'd have to say the Switch is 9th generation. Because it has
definitely.
to be the generation after the Wii U.
So when should the 9th generation start? Because the 9th generation should have started at roughly the same time as the 8.5 generation, which can't happen.
I think it's just a case of these generations don't exist. They're stupid.
Yeah.
They're arbitrary.
I mean, there was some precedent for overlapping, but overlapping doesn't make it...
Then they're not generations if they overlap, do they?
It makes definite
I suppose
issues.
they do a little bit. I suppose sometimes you get a child whose uncle is younger than him, so generations do overlap as well with humans.
Well, I suppose that makes sense then. It does make considerably more sense than maybe our first impression of console generations. So there is some overlap going on, but again, there's with the 32X, the Jaguar. When did the Jaguar come out?
1993.
Spec-wise, where does it fit in 1993? The Jaguar came out in 1993, which, according to this, is the end of 4th gen, start of 5th gen.
I would place it in terms of power somewhere between the Super Nintendo and the PlayStation, somewhere in the middle.
So that is literally right where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In terms of spec.
Yeah, but these actual generations aren't one...
But it makes it hard to place.
Yeah, you can't go 1st gen, 2nd gen, 3rd gen, 4th gen. That doesn't make sense.
So in theory, we can quite safely say that if you worked it out into slight overlaps and 0.5 of a generation,
that would be the only logical way of doing it, I suppose.
And then you'd have like super subgenres.
But then some things throw it completely out the window, as I said, like the Nintendo Switch and the Wii U. They can't both be 8th gen.
No, the Switch would have to be 9th gen, and then that would have to be grouped in with the new Xbox and the PS5.
Yeah.
But then you'd have a bit of overlap with the longevity of the PS4 and the Xbox One, and the Xbox One X as a 0.5 generation, and that would make that longer. So
should we just conclude that these generation things is just complete nonsense and stupid, and whoever came up with it's a moron?
It's really, really hard. Like, there's no
such thing as a console generation.
There is no mention at all of microcomputers in that list.
Again, it's hard because a gaming platform's a gaming platform, surely.
And PCs are every generation.
None of it makes sense. Are handhelds in there? Have they put those in there?
They haven't.
So even that makes it confusing as well.
It gets confusing earlier, but less confusing later, because as we spoke about in a previous video, it's pretty much Nintendo. So it's whenever Nintendo decide to release a new handheld, that's when it changes.
No, there's more confusion than that, because there's a 3DS and a new 3DS.
So that's the 0.5.
Yeah.
There we go. So that comes with my subgenres back again.
Yeah.
So are we trying to right a wrong?
And what about the Virtual Boy? Where does that go? Is that a handheld or is that a console? What generation is the Virtual Boy? None of it makes sense.
That can't be a 0.5 or a handheld, because handhelds seem to be held in different regard. They have handheld.
Like, what's the sequel to the Game Boy? The Game Boy Color or the Virtual Boy?
Ooh.
And
when did the Virtual Boy come out? Between
1990. It came out in 1995.
So after the
Game Boy,
SNES.
it did, and before the Nintendo 64, and it came out after the Game Boy and before the Game Boy Color.
Oh,
it's all a mess, isn't it?
It's a mess.
Just don't think about generations.
I'm trying.
They don't work.
I'm glad this is the last one that we're recording in this block, because
do one more.
I'm getting a headache.
We have one more.
Maybe.
So yes,
it's tight.
Yeah, it's not tight. It's starting at 9. You've got plenty of time. 2-minute drive home.
Okay.
In fact, it'll probably do you a favour, because Luke's about to go live on his own Twitch channel, which is twitch.tv/TopHatStreet, as opposed to our Saturday night brand, which is twitch.tv/TopHatChat, where you will find us on Saturdays.
Thank you for that shameless plug.
Yes, we love shameless
Very
plugs.
nice.
We have plugs. We have a Patreon as well, if you fancy funding it. Yes, yes.
Well done. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think we've had to come to a conclusion of the fact that console generations,
Nonsense.
as they stand, are completely ridiculous. But with a considerable amount of fine-tuning by somebody with bigger brains than ours, it could be worked out to be slightly better, but still not perfect.
It could. Yeah, you could do it. Basically, it needs a tighter definition, because at the moment it's just too arbitrary, isn't it?
Well, that's what this definition says on my phone.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us know in the comment section what you think of console generations, and if it's a term you believe should exist or not. Also, if you're watching us on Top Hat Gaming Man YouTube channel live, we will still be here for another 10 minutes or so. However, if you're watching this pre-recorded version, then cheerio!
Oh, one more thing.
Oh.
Just before we stop. One thing that I would like to see in the comment section is if you have any obscure consoles which weren't mentioned in this video and have no real place in lists, place them yourselves.
Yes.
I'd like to see everybody working together in the comment section to place some obscure consoles in generations like 4.6.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is time to make the Ouya great again. Cheerio!
I'd like to give a huge shout out to Ben Sainty and Michael Keneally, as well as all of our other patrons. You help keep this channel going. We appreciate your support.
And if anybody else would like to donate to this channel, there is a link in our description.